Assalamualaikum and hi. Today we are going to present about multiple errands test (MET). For introduction, executive function is the set of abilities needed to effectively guide behavior toward a goal, mostly in non-routine situations. Before this, executive function is tested through laboratory-based assessment, where patients would score satisfactory on laboratory assessment, but they still having significant difficulty with daily living activities. So, multiple errands test (MET) is developed as a potential solution due to that problem because it is an ecological valid assessment, which means that it can be used to predict performance of everyday life skills. For background, it is developed by Sellis and Burgers in 1991. There are many versions of MET, like simplified version, MET hospital version, the Baker's MET, Baker's MET revised, virtual MET, which is done virtually and used with client with motor impairment. Multiple errands test revised for people with mild cerebrovascular accident, the Oxford Digital Multiple Errands Test (MET Home). For purpose, firstly, it is to evaluate the effect of executive dysfunction on everyday functioning through a number of real-world tasks. For example, the tasks are like purchasing specific items and arriving at a stated location. Next, it is as a baseline assessment to determine the degree of executive dysfunction. Third, it is as an instrument to teach patients strategy to use to improve their performance. Lastly, MET is an indicator of executive function improvement following interventions.
Multiple errand test is a performance-based assessment. It takes about 60 minutes for the participants to complete the task, and the components being assessed are social participation and activities of daily living. Our target is patient with executive dysfunction who has problems in paying attention, remember information multitask, planning, organization, strategizing, and time management. For example, patient with stroke and traumatic brain injury. Next, patient who had suffered from frontal lobe damage, suffering from psychological disorder like bipolar, and patient that diagnosed with mild cerebrovascular accident. For your information, MET is a flexible assessment since it can be modified to fit the needs of settings and patient. The administration can be done almost everywhere because of the context-specific nature of the MET. This assessment has been modified and revised numerous times to be used in diverse settings and population. Next, administration procedure. First, the therapist or the assessor will prepare a task for the client, and the tasks are divided into a few sets in all versions. The participant will run an errand like purchasing the items using a telephone and mailing a letter. Then, the participant will obtaining the information needed to complete the task. The participant must know the closing time of the library and also the price of the candy bar. Participant needs to meet the assessor at a design time and place. For example, meet at gift shop 10 minutes after starting. And when the task is finished, the participant must notify the assessor. There are 6 to 8 rules that has been decided by the therapist, and the participant must complete the task by following the rules. These rules are explained by the therapist before the test. While participants do the task, the therapist will examine and evaluate their action. For the hospital version, this is done at a distance.
For scoring and interpretations, there are 12 tasks with 6 to 8 rules that depends on version of MET. The score is based on the total number of errors recorded and the time taken by the participant to complete the assessment. Errors are classified into numerous categories, which are first, inefficiencies, rule breaks, misinterpretation of task requirements, and task failures, which is any of 12 tasks that not completed by participant. For multiple errand tasks, there is no interpretation. Please refer your lab manual, page 157. So first, we as therapist or assessor will read this sheet to participant and then they will read on their own. They can ask us if not understand the tasks and rules. Patient needs to complete all the 3 tasks and then he or she needs to inform assessor after completed the exercise. While carrying out those exercises, patients must obey all the rules stated. This is an example of map which used for hospital operation in Baycrest Center for Geriatric Care in Toronto, Ontario. Alright, let's watch a video on how to conduct this assessment.
Hi Cass, hello. How are you doing today? Good, how are you? I'm good. So today at the store we're going to go through a test. It's the multiple errands test and we're going to do a revised version. So I'm going to give you instructions that's going to include a list of the items that you're going to be looking for. It's going to have rules that you need to follow and it'll also include a map of where you need to go and you must follow all of those. So you'll be completing this on your own and I'm just going to watch you from a distance just to see what you're doing and how you're doing it. And yeah, we're going to get started on that. Do you have any questions for me? I think so. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to read the rules to you and then you're going to repeat them back to me, okay? So the rules are: client will only purchase items on the list provided. Client will not go back into an area they have already been in. Client will arrive on time for the test, which you have, and in the correct starting location, which you are. Client will not talk and ask questions to the therapist while administering the test. Client will keep a budget of $10 for all the items on the list. Client will not enter any areas that are staff only. Client will stay within designated area. Okay, I'm going to hand this to you and go ahead and repeat this back to me.
Client will only purchase items on the list provided. Client will not go back into an area they have already been in. Client will arrive on time for the test and in the correct starting location. Client will not talk or ask questions to the therapist while administering the test. Client will keep a budget of $10 total for all items on the list. Client will not enter any areas that are staff-only areas. Client will stay within the designated area.
Perfect. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, so here is the list of the items that you're going to be looking for. And then here is the map for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll be over here in my corner.
Okay. Excuse me, could you please tell me where the bread is?
The bread? That's going to be right over there in aisle 5.
Okay, thank you.
These are good. Have you ever tried the chili lime?
No, I haven't tried that one. Is it good?
Yeah, I like all of them.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna get that one. Okay, I think I have all of the items, and I think I'm done.
Okay, did you go ahead and purchase them?
Nope.
Okay, I'll have you do that.
Okay.
How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. You all set? Your total is going to be $12.50, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I'll put these back for you.
Thank you. Okay, I've purchased the items now.
Perfect. Okay, so we will go back and we'll discuss your score with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
As you can see here, these are the tasks that patient needs to do. There are all 12 tasks to be completed. As we mentioned before, this assessment can be adjusted based on patient's suitability. For example, you can choose suitable place as for task 1 and suitable people that patient will telephone as stated for task 5. If patient complete the task even though they made mistakes in completing the task, then we can write it as yes at the column of task completed. Meanwhile, we write it as no if patient omitted or neglect the task. Next, if patient do mistake like stated in column of partial task failure, please state the failure they did. For example, let's look at task 1. Collect something for examiner from the kitchen and do what is necessary. If they collect something from wrong place, then we tick went to wrong place as a partial task failure. Next, after patient complete the task, we need to ask patients about the task failures they did, whether failure was an inefficient or an interpretation failure. Inefficient failure means fail to use time and resources, while interpretation failure relates to direction, such as fail to go to the right place. For total scoring, just sum up all completed tasks, partially completed tasks, and omitted tasks down here. This is a strategy sheet. We need to observe patients' strategy in doing the task and note how frequently they did the strategy in the frequency column using number. Next, for the psychometric properties. First, content validity. This assessment has a good content validity as it has face and representation validity. Multiple Errands task was developed by experts who are neuropsychologists and psychologists. As we mentioned earlier, the developers are Shirley and Burgess. This assessment shows adequate content in participation and activities of daily living. For predictive validity, we only found predictive validity of MET-HV. HV stands for hospital version. Research found adequate predictive of MET-HV, acute rehabilitation hospital discharge at predictive participation index scores 180 days post-discharge, which R is 0.4. Next, for construct validity in terms of convergent validity. First, by using Pearson correlation analysis, MET-HV's convergent validity was examined by comparison with the functional independence measure, cognitive score, using sample of 30 patients with acquired brain injury, including stroke, which N equal to 19. The result was recorded as excellent negative correlation between MET-HV, total error score, and FIM cognitive score, which are equal to negative 0.67.
By using Pearson correlation, Baker's multiple errand test (BMET's) convergent validity was examined by comparison with other measures of IADL and everyday function with 14 clients with stroke. Other measures included the Executive Index (DEX), significant with other report, stroke impact profile (SIP), assessment of motor and process skill (AMPS), and Mayo Portland Adaptability Inventory (MPAI) is a significant other report. The R value between the BMET number of rules broken and the SIP physical was 0.78, which indicate excellent correlation. And effective behavior R value is 0.64 scores and the AMPS motor score is R equal to negative 0.75. The R value between the BMET time to completion and SIP physical score is 0.54, which indicate an adequate correlation. Third, by using Spearman correlation coefficient, MET hospital version convergent validity was examined by comparison with measures of executive function and IADLs with a sample of 9 patients with subacute or chronic stroke. Executive function was measured using the Behavioral Assessment of the Dysexecutive Syndrome (BADS) Zoo Map test. Meanwhile, IADLs were measured using the IADL questionnaire. There is an excellent negative correlation between the BADS Zoo Map and MET hospital version outcome measures of total number of mistakes, which R value is negative 0.93, partial mistakes in completing tasks R value is negative 0.80, non-efficiency mistakes R value is negative 0.86, and time to complete the MET R value is negative 0.79. There's also an excellent correlation between the IADL questionnaire and the MET hospital version number of mistakes of rule breaks, which R value is 0.80 and the total number of mistakes is negative 0.76. Next, reliability. First, internal consistency. Based on MET hospital version, in a sample of 20 patients with chronic acquired brain injury and 20 healthy control, and internal consistency was adequate, which the Cromba alpha is 0.77.
For inter-rater reliability, BMET, which is the Bay-Crest MET, was used with clients with stroke 40 patients, traumatic brain injury, which is 30 patients, and healthy match controls 25 patients by using intra-class correlation coefficients and two-way random effects models. Participants were scored by two assessors. Inter-rater reliability obtained was strong to almost perfect agreement for the 5 summary measures used. Mean number of tasks completed accurately, which is intra-class correlation 0.8, which indicates strong agreement. Mean number of rules adhered to ICC equal to 0.71, which indicates strong agreement. Mean number of total errors, ICC equal to 0.82, indicates almost perfect agreement. Mean number of total rules broken, ICC 0.88, indicates almost perfect agreement, and mean number of requests for help, ICC 0.71, indicates strong agreement. For inter-rater reliability, the MET sample of 20 patients with chronic acquired brain injury, where participants were scored by two assessors. Inter-rater reliability was excellent, where ICC ranging from 0.81 to 1. The rule breaks error category demonstrated the strongest inter-rater reliability, which intra-class correlation is 1. Next, for sensitivity and specificity, when using a cutoff score more than or equal to 7 errors on the MET hospital version with clients with chronic acquired brain injury including stroke, sensitivity is 85% and specificity is 95%. When using a cutoff score more than or equal to 12 errors on the MET SV with clients with brain injury including stroke, with sensitivity is 82%, meanwhile specificity is 95.3%. For advantages and disadvantages, also suitability with Malaysian population. So what's the advantages of MET? The advantages of this assessment are it is free, so it's easy to obtain, and it's a flexible assessment because it can be modified in order to fit the needs of the setting and patient. For disadvantages, this assessment takes long time to administer. Second, the result of MET also influenced by external factors and unplanned situation when we conduct it outside the lab, which will affect patients' behaviors and decision making. And lastly, there is no comparability was found. For suitability with Malaysian population, this assessment is suitable in Malaysian population because of its context-specific nature, where it can be modified in order to fit Malay culture and setting. These are our references, and that's all from us. Thank you.